Until my daughter was born, I never really valued life. I mean, I was happy to be alive, but then my wife got pregnant, and suddenly I understood. Because here was this little child we had made together. And by God's grace, she was growing and kicking. And then she was born. And seeing her, I just went from this irresponsible schmuck to a father like that. That's kind of how the years went by, too. Suddenly, she's 2 years old. She's walking and talking. She's 5. I could bring my daughter to work with me at the synagogue. And I'm so proud because she's asking these questions about God that adults don't even ask. My little girl is just so smart. So you know she gets that from her mom. She's 12. A woman now. And where have the years gone? More and more I ask myself that because she gets sick. The doctors don't know what to do. Life is really precious. I never really cared about my own, but my daughters? Well, I'd heard about this Jesus. Healing hands. That's what the rumor was. Sent from God to save. I mean, how could I pass that up? I had to meet this guy. And this couldn't have been a coincidence. Jesus was in town the same day my daughter's health took a turn for the worst. There's this huge crowd around him, so I had to kind of push my way through. But finally, I got to Jesus. And I didn't even really know what to do. So I just kind of threw myself down at his knees and I said, please, please, my daughter is sick. She's dying. Just come put your hand on her, because I know that'll be enough to save her. And he didn't say anything, so I looked up. And there, in his eyes, was the same thing that was in my heart. It was that painful love of someone who's afraid of losing their child, afraid of losing their whole world. And he nodded, and he helped me to my feet, and we started walking toward my home. The crowd followed us, but I didn't even care, because actually I thought it was a good sign, because they were, talking about how they were about to see a miracle. So for the first time since my wife and I were told that our little girl was dying, I actually had hope. But just like that, my hope was broken. As this woman came, I didn't even see her sneaking through the crowd, but I guess she grabbed on to Jesus' clothes, and that was enough to make him stop. Stop? No. Why are you stopping? Why look for the person who touched you? Who cares? We have to keep going here. The woman had been sick for 12 years. Same amount of time my daughter had been alive. She'd been bleeding that whole time, and touching Jesus actually healed her. So I thought, well, great. He really can do miracles. This is God's power. But now we gotta hurry up because... And that's when I saw them. It was my family, and they were kind of forcing their way through the crowd. I didn't even hear what they said, because I kind of just went numb. I mean, should I cry? Should I yell at this woman for wasting my time? Or yell at Jesus for letting her? Would tears and anger even help? My daughter was dead. Jesus came to me. He put his hand on my shoulder and somehow told me exactly what I needed to hear. Don't be afraid. Just believe. My family and friends didn't welcome him. No, they thought Jesus was crazy because he was saying that my daughter wasn't actually dead, that she was just sleeping. I didn't understand it myself, but my wife and I brought Jesus back to her room. And there she was. But there she wasn't. And this was my girl. She was wrapped in a sheet just like the day she was born. But there was no life in her. And how could Jesus say she's just sleeping? This is everything I'd feared since the first time I held her. But Jesus walked over to the bed. He pulled back the death sheet, folding it gently. Taking my daughter's hand between his own, he whispered, "My child, little girl, it's time to wake up." She got up. She got up and started walking around just like that. My wife and I didn't even know what to say. We just held her and we cried. You wouldn't even think that we had any tears left, but God always provides tears for joy. Jesus told us not to say anything. At first I didn't, because it actually made sense. I mean, if there were already people sneaking up on Jesus to try to grab his clothes, just imagine what they would do if they found out he could bring people back to life. But now I talk about it, because I know why my girl was healed. It was a promise. Just after he was killed, that crowd who followed Jesus said that he died to forgive our sins. And that fit, because God sent him to save, right? But then I started hearing this other rumor. Jesus had come back to life. How could I doubt that? I mean, after what I had seen? No, somehow this guy was God. Jesus had come to beat death for us. Jesus brought this promise of life, because life is precious. And he brought life forever in heaven for everyone who believes. So I don't have to be afraid anymore. I mean, yeah, someday I'm going to die. My wife will die. Our daughter will die again. But we're not really going to be dead. No, it's more more like falling asleep. Because knowing Jesus means waking up to a new and better life with Him. So, for anyone out there who's still caught up in the fears of this world, I just want to end with God's words. My child, my son, my daughter, it's time to wake up.